Hello my lovely people, welcome to another video on my channel. My name is Lydia and this channel is about mom life, a lot of cooking, supermarket hauls, all the new experiences that I have with my little one. So if you want to join me, please subscribe to my channel and ring the bell button. Just click on the bell button so you get the notifications every time I upload a video. Today's video is about my breastfeeding journey. I will share with you all my experience during that journey, all the ups and downs. I must say that it was a challenging journey. It wasn't a very difficult one. I have heard stories from other women and I must say that hasn't been that hard for me, but it had a lot of challenges and unfortunately it ended before I intended to. I was planning to breastfeed for a bit longer, but I will come to that. So first things first, I really wanted to breastfeed and I knew that it had the challenges. I tried to read as much as I can. I tried to educate myself as much as I can regarding breastfeeding, and I did everything that was on my hand to do that, but I knew that no matter how hard you try, you may still not be able to breastfeed. So when my little one arrived, I already had harvested some colostrum because I didn't have a milk supply for the first days. You know, milk supply comes normally day 2, day 3 after you give birth. So I had harvested some colostrum in case my baby is not satisfied with whatever I was getting. I guess I didn't really know how that worked, but I decided to harvest some colostrum for that reason. So my little one arrived. The first latch, I must say that it wasn't a big success. He latched, but it wasn't the greatest and it wasn't that deep. But neither him or me had any experience on breastfeeding, and the midwife said that just be patient, it will take time, just keep trying and everything will go well. When I was with the midwife, he kind of latched, not perfectly as I said before, but it was alright. And then we stayed one night in the hospital and I was all alone with him, all by myself for the first time, and he started crying in the middle of the night and I tried to breastfeed him and he wouldn't latch. And if I find the picture, I'm gonna insert it in this video. He was like full of dried milk by the morning. He had all these red patches because he got I don't know if it was an allergy or just his skin was adjusting to the environment, and I felt so bad because I wasn't able to properly breastfeed him. I did give him a couple of syringes with colostrum, so he had something to eat. I knew that newborns have a tiny little stomach, so they don't really need a lot of milk, and after a few hours he went back to sleep and he seemed satisfied and he wasn't crying all through the night, so I wasn't worried that he was starving. So we went home and he started latching a bit better, and then my milk supply came in, something that no one warns you about, because my milk supply came during the night and I didn't expect it, and by the morning my breasts were so full and hard and painful. My mistake was I hadn't bought a pump because I thought that I wouldn't need it, and if I saw that I would need it I would buy one later. But one tip that I'm gonna say now is just buy a breast pump to have it in case you need it. I bought one from Marketplace, £20 maybe, and it was a pretty good one. I'm gonna insert the name. It was Philips, but I don't remember which one exactly, so I'm gonna insert a photo of it, and it worked fine for me. So my milk supply came in and I was constantly massaging my breast with warm water. I put a warm compress because the milk wouldn't come out of easily at first, but after I managed to sort things out and I tried to put him on my breast again, I could feel that he was latching better, he was able to drink better. You know, when you have the milk supply you can hear the baby like gulping and swallowing, so I was very happy for that. But I still knew that he didn't latch properly, because if you go on the internet and if you ask your midwife, or they give you leaflets, here in the UK they give us leaflets with a lot of information information, and they tell you how a nipple should be after a latch. So like especially my right side, it was always like a lipstick. It had a lipstick shape when he was getting off the breast. So I knew that he didn't have a deep latch. And we were trying day after day, day after day. Nothing really worked. When he was day 10, after we came home, the health visitor came to see us and she checked the baby. She saw that he had a tongue tie, which is something that the midwife has said that she could see a tongue tie, but she didn't think that it was a lot, so she said just to observe and she would refer us to the specialist. But no one had contacted me by day 10, so when the health visitor came and she noticed that he had a tongue tie and I told her the story, so she referred us again. And I think the next day I got a call to go in, so they see us, and we did, and he had a 90% tongue tie, which of course it explained why he wouldn't latch properly. So we sorted it out. It was a very fast procedure, to be honest. It is painful. I think it is more painful for the mother than the baby, because the midwife, or I don't really know the specialist if it's a midwife or not, she had to like cut the tongue tie under the baby's tongue, and I was there and I could see the whole process, and it just broke my heart, but I knew that it would be easier for him after. So it was like, it took probably a second to do that, and then I just started breastfeeding him so he calms down, and I noticed a difference right away. It wasn't still a huge one, because as they told me, he would have to get used to using his tongue more, because he didn't know that he can extend it more. After that, things were getting better. Still, he was getting very annoyed, and I remember that at night time he wouldn't latch, and I had to stand up and rock him and try to breastfeed him standing. It was very, very stressful, a lot of nights at the beginning, but thank God, as the days passed and as he was getting older, things went better and we didn't have any issue. He was latching properly, still not as deep as he should, but he was getting enough milk, his nutrition was perfect, and I wasn't worried about that. And also the health visitor said that like we can still try it for a deep latch and try like all the right positions to hold him properly, but as long as he feeds himself and he's calm and he seems that he's satisfied, then I shouldn't really worry about it. So things were going well. When he was about 5 months old, it started getting painful again with my right breast. I don't know what was the problem with my right side. Left side I had no issues, but the right side, it was the challenging one. So it started getting painful every time he would latch and every time he would sag, and after a few minutes it would get a bit easier, the pain would be a bit better, but then it was painful and I was dreading the moment that I had to feed him from my right side because of how painful it was. And I don't know why. I never had cracked nipples, I never had any sort of bleeding, and I never really had sore breasts and sore nipples. It was just painful. One day, although he would feed, my breast wouldn't empty. It was getting harder and harder, and by the end of the day I could see a white patch on my nipple. So I researched it, and apparently you can get a blocked milk duct, a blocked nipple milk duct, I don't know how to call it. I knew that you can have mastitis, but that was when inside the breast was getting blocked because of the milk supply. But I never knew that you can have a visible blocked duct, milk duct. I read the treatment, and it was either to keep putting warm compress and warm water and keep massaging it, but I was already doing that throughout the day and it didn't work. So the next step that they were suggesting was to go to the doctor and with a sterile needle to try to break the duct, the blockage. I had already some sterile syringes and needles that I got from Greece when we had gone a few months ago, in case I need to use the syringes to put normal saline in my baby's nose in case he would get sick. I am a nurse and you know what, I've been suffering the whole day. The doctor won't do anything more than what I will do. I'm careful. So I did manage to break the duct, and all the milk was coming out so much, and I felt relief right away. And he was getting better, it was less painful, but then it continued being painful when I was breastfeeding. I think it was because of the blocked duct. It was a wound because I had to like break the skin. When my little one was breastfeeding, he was sucking on the specific part, and it was getting more irritated, and it didn't have the time to heal properly. So I think because of that, I was in so much pain. So what I decided to do, I decided to stop breastfeeding him from the right side and to pump on that side. So I would only breastfeed him on the left side, which again, as I said before, I had no issues with my left side. So I was exclusively pumping for a couple of weeks when he was 6 to 7 months. And when I was using the pump, it was fine. It wasn't painful at all. And he was taking the bottle. He was taking the bottle from the beginning, to be honest, from week 2 or 3, when I had to leave him with my mother in order to go to register him to the council and then to arrange for his passport, because we were planning to go to Greece when he was 2 months old. So I had to leave him with my mother for a few hours. So I tried to introduce the bottle early so he doesn't refuse it later. I know they say about the nipple confusion that you should wait to give a bottle to the baby if you're planning to breastfeed, but I tried it and it worked fine, so I didn't have any issue. Thank God. I didn't have any problem with taking the breast, taking the bottle and using the pacifier, the tummy. He was absolutely fine. I'm very grateful for that. So I was giving him my express milk from the bottle, and then I was breastfeeding him on the left side for a couple of weeks, as I said, and then I tried to breastfeed him again. So for the first like 2-3 days, everything was fine. The pain had gone, so I thought that it had healed properly and everything was well. But then after day 3, the pain came back. I didn't have any blocked duct, I didn't have any mastitis, my breast wasn't red, my breast wasn't sore, my nipple didn't seem sore, didn't seem to be cracked and to bleed. It seemed fine. It had these white patches, but I don't know why was that. You can tell when you have a blocked duct or your breast is not getting empty. So I didn't have any issues, it was just painful. So unfortunately I had to stop again. From around when he was 7 months, I was only breastfeeding him from the left side, and I was exclusively pumping on the right side. So around the time he turned 9, and he had already started eating solids, and he preferred the solids over the milk, and only during the night time he would feed properly and he wouldn't just keep looking around. Or during the day when I was breastfeeding him, he would just have a few sips and then just look around. I didn't have any distractions. I didn't have the TV on. My husband wasn't home. We were just the 2 of us. I was just breastfeeding him, so he just didn't want to drink any, even in the morning when he woke up and I was breastfeeding him first thing in the morning all the time. He would have 2 sips and that's it. He would just don't want to do anything else, and he would want to play, or he was just waiting for his breakfast. So because he stopped drinking properly milk, I could see that the milk supply was slowing down, and I was able to express 160 ml to 100 ml from one side. I could see that it started reducing to 150, 120, 90, 80 when it was around 60, and he was drinking around 120 per feed. So I started pumping on my left side to see how much he was actually getting, and I would get 30-40 ml. So I really started worrying that he doesn't drink enough. I tried to pump a bit more in order to increase my supply, but then I could see that nothing was happening. My milk supply was just reducing, and I had to give him more and more bottle feeds. By the end that he was almost 10, I had barely any milk supply. It was like 10-20 ml. So I was trying to gather it and like create a bottle and make a bottle from my milk, but it wasn't enough, and I needed 2 days to make a bottle. So that was it. That was it. It was very weird how I stopped breastfeeding, because I didn't plan to. As I said, I just noticed that my milk supply was slowing down, and I could see that he wouldn't stay on my breast for more than a minute or two. And I don't say that he was feeding for 1 minute or 2 minutes constantly. He was just taking a sip, looking around for a few seconds, taking another sip. Like he wasn't feeding properly, and I knew that he wasn't feeding properly. The moment that I realized that my milk supply was slowing down, I skipped a feed and I gave him a bottle, and then I skipped another feed and I gave him another bottle, and out of nowhere and without realizing, a whole day passed and I hadn't breastfed him at all. He was only bottle fed, and of course he had his solids. And then the next day I thought that my milk supply would be back, but that didn't happen. So again, I bottle fed him, and at the end of the day I tried to pump again, and I only got 20 and 10 ml from each breast, and I didn't feed him again, and that was it. That's how I stopped breastfeeding. It was very weird because he didn't really ask for it. He didn't really ask for the breast. He was absolutely satisfied and happy with being bottle fed and having his solid. Not for one time he showed me that he wants me to breastfeed him, that he wants the breast, that he needs it to comfort him. Not even one. Even when he was crying, he had a bottle, he went back to sleep. So it was very weird because he seemed so independent and he didn't really care, when I knew that it was very hard, and it is very hard, to stop breastfeeding him, because babies, they get attached and it's their comfort breast, and it's very hard for a lot of mothers to stop breastfeeding, even when the baby is like 2-3 years old. I knew from my mother that my youngest brother, we have 17 years difference, so I remember everything, and I knew that she wanted to stop breastfeeding him when he was 2.5 years old, and he wouldn't stop. So it was a whole journey and challenge for her to stop breastfeeding, and to me it just happened like that, out of nowhere, without me expecting it, and without him fighting hard either. He just didn't care. So to be honest with you, it hurt that, because I wanted to breastfeed him until he's 1 year old, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't keep pumping because there was nothing coming. I had to pump for 20 minutes to get 10 ml, and it was getting painful and it was getting difficult, and since he didn't seem to care, I couldn't keep doing that. It was a bittersweet moment, because I knew that I wanted to stop breastfeeding anyways when he's 1. So between month 9 and 12 months is not a huge period of time, but still I wanted those like 3 months to continue breastfeeding him. He didn't seem to care, and since he didn't seem to care, and he was getting his nutrition, and trust me, he was a chubby bunny. He still is. He's getting better, but he was a chubby bunny, so this is what it is. It was painful. It was painful for me to stop like that. I didn't realize it. I was crying because I didn't realize that. Okay, what? Wait, I stopped breastfeeding just like that. But that was really the journey. It ended, as I said before, I really wanted to, but it was easy for him, and it was easy for me too, because I understand that it would have been more difficult. It's just psychologically I wasn't ready to stop breastfeeding, and I didn't really want it to happen that way, but that's how it was meant to be. I'm happy that I was able to breastfeed for these 9 months. I hope with my next child I'll be able to breastfeed a bit longer, and I hope I don't get the same issues, but we'll see how it's gonna go. My tips for all the mothers who are planning to breastfeed, or whoever is already breastfeeding, is be patient, practice, take your time, ask for advice. There are so many people there to help you, because I know that at the beginning it can be so hard and so challenging, but remember that it's a new experience that neither you or your baby really know what to do. So it's a whole new thing that you both have to learn, and you both have to work together and support each other in order to make things work. So ask for help, have a pump, buy a breast pump. You don't have to buy a very expensive one, you can just buy a manual breast pump just to have it in case your milk supply comes out of nowhere and your breast comes sore. Someone woke up from his nap, so we're gonna finish the video together. So as I was saying, just have a breast pump in case you need it, and just try your best, just be patient and take your time, and whatever you do, you're doing great. As long as your baby's fed, that's all that matters. Even if you want to stop breastfeeding earlier, if you want to breastfeed longer, mamas, you know what is best for your child and you just do that. Yeah. Another tip that I would suggest is try at the early times to pump a bit more and to store some milk, because having some extra milk in the freezer, it really helps, especially if you need to go somewhere to have some ready milk and to have milk for when the father needs to feed the baby. Just, I think having extra milk supply in the freezer, not a lot, I mean I didn't go crazy with it, but I found it very helpful to have some frozen milk. And find the right position to breastfeed. There are many different positions, not all of them are right for everyone, so maybe that's why you find it difficult to breastfeed. So I would suggest just try all the breastfeeding positions that the specialists have suggested, and hopefully one of them is going to be easier for you and your little one, and the experience is going to get better. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful and interesting, and as I said, if you want to follow us on this journey, please subscribe to my channel, and if you like this video, please give it a like. Thank you so much, and until next time, take care. Bye. Say bye. No?